G'day everybody. Question from a viewer, one of the original subscribers is, where's the Bongo? There's the Bongo. Next question from the viewer, why isn't the Bongo on the road? Well, there's a story that comes with the Bongo. For those of you who are new to the channel, this is a 1978 Mazda E1600 utility. I bought it for 1,500 bucks Australian, so about $35 US, from a barn in Orange, which is about 5 hours that way. Got it home, put some new tyres on it, 1,200 bucks. There's 9 tyres on this car. It's got duals on the back, singles on the front. 12 inches, like the smallest tyres in the history of the world these days. Tyres, got it running, lots of smutch in the fuel tank. Timing was a bit out, like little stuff, right? Took it to get it regoed, which in Australia is a process. You have to get it inspected. They check all the numbers. They look at everything and make sure it's all safe. Great, all about safety. The problem was, there were 2 compliance plates. So I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world, but in Australia you're allowed to have 1 compliance plate that tells you what the vehicle is. And they discovered that this was a 1978-81 van utility that hadn't been registered for 20 years. So there was a compliance plate in the front and a compliance plate in the back, just up. Oh, you can almost see it. Up there, that's where the compliance plate is. As a result of that, it had to have a New South Wales government inspector have a look at it, make sure that it wasn't stolen. Again, happy days, part of the process. So what they discovered is that this is a 1978 body. Look at it. I mean, hey, real steel on a 1981 van chassis. The engine is out of the ute. The chassis is out of the van. So someone at some point has had a little idea. They've been sitting on the couch, chugging a few tins, and they've looked at their mates and said, we could put those 2 together. And that's what they've done. Now they've done what they thought is the right thing and left both compliance plates in there, which in whenever it was, it's 44 years ago this was built, has felt like the right idea while they sat on the couch and sank a few schooners. Thanks fellas. It took 6 weeks to resolve, but it's resolved. So now I can almost attempt to register the beast. Right? I mean, look at it. You just want to hug it. Right? So as part of the original check where the compliance plate problem was found, there was a couple of other issues identified. I had to replace the ball joints and the tie rod ends in the steering. And along the way, we also discovered that the idler arm bushes were shot, so we've got some new ones of those. A little bit of wiring that needs to be resolved, which is just an easy one, and some fuel lines that need to be resolved. And I'll show you a couple of things in a minute. It's not just going to be this talky today. It's just an update. I've even got my slippers on. So it's just an update, but I'll show you. Tie rod board. Oh, and the ignition key. So let's go and have a look at that, and I'll tell you about the silliest problem in the world that was the hardest thing to fix. Righto, so the ignition problem. The original ignition barrel was in the original position, but you used a Toyota key to start the car, and you could take the key out while the engine was running, which you can't have in Australia anymore apparently, which, okay, I kind of get. But I could start this car with a screwdriver, which was probably not good. So we had to get a new ignition barrel, and what you cannot buy for this car that I could find, so if you have one, let me know, post it to me, was an original or an aftermarket E1600 key. So we found an aftermarket one, but it has, it's very hard to zoom in, hang on. It has a little plastic collar on it, and we couldn't get the little plastic collar to pull in on the original mount point. So then we tried another spot, it still wouldn't work, and then we had to make a backing plate to put in here, and it fits. And I now have a key that when it's running you can't pull out, and I'll show you that now. One of the bonuses about the aftermarket key though is I can turn the accessories on and have the radio on. Happy days. So let's fire it up just to prove to the world that it still works. Well, it worked yesterday. Alright, so car is running. Can't pull the key out. To get the key out, I'd end up destroying the whole dashboard. So that was the hardest problem to solve and took the most time. So I'll show you a couple other things. I mean, the thing's a race ship. Everyone wants to drive it. I look like a gorilla in the front of it. That's right. So, where to next? Let's come this way. Random tractor bits. There's the body for the quad, which is another project I still have to come back to. So, I've been asked to replace some fuel fittings. So these are the old squeezy joints. I've been asked to put screw clamps on them. I also need to change this fuel filter again and drain the sediment bowl. You can see that we're still getting schmutz out of the tank. We're just not getting as much. So there's that job. I also had a flat tyre which I had to fix. I dropped a valve stem. So we did that while we're up on the blocks. And then down here, see, told you I had my slippers on. I'll just put this down for a sec. Good point. So, had to replace the bottom ball joint, the tie rod ends. This one's not connected still. The tie rod ends on both sides, and also the top ball joint. Had some help here the last couple of weeks, so we just come out here one afternoon when it was raining and smashed into this and got it done. Very difficult to get the ball joints out of all the places. Not original, I don't think, but certainly had been in there for a while. The other problem we found was, my finger's blown up again. This is the idler arm. So this arm stops the whole steering rack. Now let's put this camera down a bit. So the steering rack's back in here. That's the steering rack there. And this idler arm stops the steering rack from going up and down and changing the geometry. And what we found is that the bushings were actually gone. So we replaced those, and we also found that this, I don't actually know the official term, this is the steering box here, and this is the steering rack here. So it's the arm that connects the steering box to the steering rack. And again, I don't know the right name for it. I just know that it was a pain in the ass to get out, but it's ready to go back in. So, and I have to fix this wiring, and there's another bit of wiring way down. Put it down. Way down the back. So, where are we at? Steering's done. It'll need a wheel alignment. Oh, hang on. I can't get off the ground. Oh, I still can't get off the ground. So, like I said before, we have a new set of bushers for the idler arm, and we have new ball joints for that arm, to which I do not know the name. And you can see here, like, it's just mental that they don't, you know, it needs to be replaced. This one doesn't have a ball joint in it. Ball joint. Words. This one doesn't have a grease nipple in it, so I'm probably going to find one of those. This one's a sealed unit. These came from a supplier in Australia. Always pays to shop around. These were $65 on eBay. I found them for 20 odd bucks via an online shop. They do have a right and a left hand thread. And the only way to tell that is when you pull it apart and you work out you haven't ordered the right ones. I haven't done that this time, but I have done it in the past. So, yeah. So that's a bit of an update on the Bongo life. I'm hoping to get the steering back together, which is just here, so that's why I'm pointing here. It's over here, and I have to look at this end of the camera. It's killing me. Hoping to get the steering back together, do the wiring, grease it all up. I do need to do an oil change. It hasn't had an oil change in 6 months. And then the next part of this process is probably the more interesting part, is I need to turn this 1978-81 Mazda van utility into a water, it's going to be a water truck. And included in it is going to be the IBC you can see in the back, the pump which we bought that wasn't running, that just does run. All of the stuff to go out to the farm, so toolboxes, batteries. I've got a solar panel here, there. I want to put on the top to charge the batteries for the tractors. I want to put some spotlights on it because that'd be fully sick. I mean, imagine that with a big set of spotties on the front, and also off the side, so I can see what I'm doing, because I want to be able to be out on the block after dark. It's summertime here. I want to get some work done after work. So that's the Bongo. It comes with a unique smell, and I do look like a gorilla sitting in the front of it. But it, like everything else I buy, it was going to get scrapped. How could you scrap that? You know you want one. I haven't seen one for sale since, although I did have to talk to a guy in Tassie who was selling two to find out if he'd sell me the key barrel, which he wouldn't, which was frustrating to say the least. Rare as rock and horse turd, but it'll do my job and what I want. So anyway, that's the Bongo. Apologies, there's lots of this today. Hopefully people have answered a few questions they might have had. I was keen as to get out and hoon around in it, just because. So anyway, thank you. Stay tuned, subscribe, watch. If you don't want to watch, still subscribe, helps the channel. I need another 600 subscribers apparently before I can turn this into some sort of money-making venture. Not doing it for the money, but it'd be nice, even if it's only a little bit to pay for this. So thank you. Have a lovely day. Thoughts and opinions would be welcomed on how to set this up, but at this stage, IBC in the middle, pump at the back, all the water type stuff in the back, pump, hoses, fittings, and all the farm stuff at the front, roof on the top, and get rid of all the spiders. Blurg.